Well, hello,
Hi.
and welcome to learning about you, learning about me.
Yes. I'm so nervous. I've not been in front of a microphone with someone else in years. I was in
Oh,
front of a mic for, I mixed new vocals for what is about to be released, but I've not been with someone else in the microphone for years, and I'm very nervous.
you should never be nervous with me. I am the most chillest, non-judgmental person, and it's my first time on a podcast. So,
Bienvenue.
merci beaucoup, monsieur. Um, yeah. So let's talk about the song.
hmm
Tell us about your inspiration.
So I was inspired a lot about, I was just thinking about how scared I was when it came to first experiences with love or with dating or even, in bed and stuff. And when I say sin is salvation for a sad soul, I thought that resonated a lot with me and my personal experiences with just, um, I don't know how to describe it, but being in the moment with someone and being in the moment with life and being comfortable with being yourself. I just thought those are just such important things to write about. And that's mostly what inspired this. And also sometimes it might not be the best thing for you in the moment, but it's, eye-opening in its own way.
Interesting. And I want to come back to that in a moment, but let's talk about what genre you would say that your music exists within.
I'm inspired by so many genres. Dutch folk music, heavy metal, hard rock, pop music, hip hop, rap. I just call this alternative, to be honest.
I love alternative. So, you mentioned before to me that Nine Inch Nails is an inspiration for this album. Give us a song that really is one of your favorites or grabs.
Ooh, I think one of my favorite Nine Inch Nails songs is I Would For You. The ending with the drums, it's super intense. Trent's vocals are insanely good, and the lyrical content is just out of this world. I really do like when he says, I think, like when he kind of does the chorus, and if I could be somebody else, yes, I think I would for you. Because sometimes you do love someone, and they're not the right person for you, or you're not the right person for them. Something I've experienced, you want to, if you love someone and they love you, you want to provide the best love that they've ever experienced, and sometimes you're just not in that place.
That's you can say that again. And I think one of the things that I've learned through relationships, especially romantic relationships, where you just really want to be absorbed by the person's energy somewhat. And I think that we often don't live our true authentic selves through in those moments, in the ways that we kind of maybe learn in future times that we should, to being our authentic self. And it's something that you kind of mentioned before about what did you say it was? You said it was corny, but I don't think it's corny. Just being yourself and living your best inner expression of who you are. And I would say I think that you are very much your own person, which I really love. How do you think that kind of has grown with you, over the years? How?
Because if I could go back,
Mm-hmm.
I think that I would have accepted. I would have accepted certain things. Okay, I think when I look back, I accepted some things that were not comfortable with me, and didn't accept some things that were right with me. I think sometimes we get used to this unhealthy dynamic, and if I could go back, I would address things in the opposite. I would address the things that were bad for me with setting boundaries, but I would also accept the parts of that person that was good for me. But I've never been in a relationship, so it's a very hard thing to like kind of explain. But I've had some close friendships and close things that I wish, if I were to go back, that I would accept a lot more of the good of it, and not dwell on the negatives. And sometimes it was not even a big deal. It was just overreacting to things I saw at the time as like faults in like a relationship or friendship. Not relationship, romantic. I've never had that, but I would approach things differently today with a lot of things.
So that brings us to the topic of dating. And maybe we can even lead this into like the whole move to Montreal thing, but let's start with like, how is dating in Montreal for you?
I've not been on a date for years.
Really?
Years.
Years?
Years. Because I used to be a hopeless romantic, and I planned all these cute things like skating or picnics and stuff. And it never like quite worked out the way I thought it would, but that's not a bad thing, I guess. But in terms of putting that much effort into, I don't know, like I'd love to share my life with someone, obviously, and I would love to, you know, have that kind of connection that so many people have, and so many of my close friends are in amazing relationships. And so I'd love to have some sort of version of that in my life, but at the same time, I'm afraid to approach it anymore after like some experiences. I don't know I don't know if my heart is ready to be broken again.
It takes a long time to heal those broken hearts, eh? I can definitely relate to that. I've been trying to date in Montreal, and 2023 hit, and I was like, okay, I think I'm not gonna push it anymore. So I've decided to be more organic about the process and kind of see just what kind of comes into my sphere versus like online dating or like trying to find that one. Because I had this existential crisis one day where I was like, online dating is really messed up. Like, you're just trying to find the one on this app, and it's, I mean, kind of crazy. And there's also like the component of like hookup culture, and I think that that's like a huge thing on the internet, which I think I'm too old for.
I feel like with that, I don't know. When I experience something, I've experienced it before. And so for me, I've experienced like a hookup or whatever.
Oh, so
or
have I.
a one night stand.
No shame.
Yeah.
No, these things are
But
good.
I've experienced that, and I've gotten, I think, anything I can get out of that by this point.
Okay.
There's nothing new to. It would have to be something so strange. I don't know. It would have to be something else. But I don't think I could do something like that again. Like, I'm a very with stuff like that, I just like to, like, if I know what it's like, what's the point of doing this again, right? So I've been kind of over that. Like, I'm definitely looking for, like, I think what I've never had ever was someone, like, just unconditional, like, love, and to love someone also unconditionally, and just to have a special bond with someone. And that's something I'm more interested in than something I've done a million times before.
So that's a good way of looking at it, I think, and also very mature. You know, would you say that you're a mature person? Do you see yourself as being a mature person?
We all have rooms to grow, and I think that I make the effort to improve on myself, and I also look for that in other people that actually, take the time to be introspective. And introspection is one quality that I love in anyone. It's just that ability to realize their flaws and also work on that.
So, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about what kind of brought you to music, because I know that you told me you were a student in political science. And so that is kind of like a huge stone's throw from music to me, in my view. Political science, music, not kind of in the same boat. So tell me a little bit about this process and, how you got into making music.
Well, I love political music. Some of my favorite songs and experiences with music are political. I loved when Beyonce did Formation. That's an amazing music video. It's an amazing song. And the Super Bowl performance was also amazing. And it really, it sent the message that Black Lives Matter. Mm-hmm. And people may have different feelings about the organization. It's a very decentralized organization, by the way. So there's controversy with each BLM movement and each BLM organization in different countries in Canada and the States. I don't look at it like that. I still just look at the hashtag and I stick with that. I don't get into the politics of how Black Lives Matter operates, because everything becomes we lose the sense of the message. So when Formation came out, I loved it. And then I also liked, so some of my favorite musical moments are political. So I loved when Beyonce released the song and music video for Formation. And I loved when Madonna did American Life. Some of the songs on the album were some of my favorites of her entire career. And I also really think at the end of the day that art does respect and respond to the political environment that it's around. And we see this with K-pop as well. I remember watching, I don't know if I should name the group, but 21, with their videos like Go Away and stuff, they really, and Amura Namie, she also had a tattoo. And I think that music can be political because tattoos were shamed upon in Japan at the time. And she was a single mother with a tattoo, and she was very strong. And I don't see that music is very different from politics.
I think that is one of the biggest topics that I've been exploring in my research, actually. I've been exploring the intersections of art and activism, and from I would say more revolutionary movements, and how art is an expression of those particular movements. So I can definitely agree with the fact that you see political messages and art being something that can coexist together. And I think we're living in a time where political messages are just so important for us to amplify, right? There was something I wanted to ask you, but you wanted to explain a little bit more about your political expression, or did you want to say anything else about that? All right. Let's talk about Toronto and Montreal. What brought you to Montreal? We have similar stories.
Yes, I know we have some similar stories. For me, it was just I was here to meet a friend, and then I brought some stuff with me because I thought I would spend the weekend or something. Realized it was a one-way ticket. Moved here, and I isolated myself in the pandemic as everyone else did. But then I also isolated myself before that, and not many people know that. But for a few years, whenever I'd go out, it was a big deal. So people probably thought I went out more than I did. But I was kind of a recluse. Outside of a few times, I didn't really go out there. So I was very recluse. I didn't really see or interact with people outside of a few friends. And then I ended up in Montreal, and then I was like, I asked someone where the gay village was, and someone pointed to a direction, and I went to that direction, and I met like someone amazing who kept me in their basement for like a week or so, and then I made new vocals on my track, and then like did some artistic stuff. But then I knew I had to get serious, so then I fully just moved here at some point, like a month after or something like that. So like it was completely by accident.
So tell me, how long have you been in Montreal now?
It's been about a year.
Year one in Montréal.
Oui.
C'est bon. Yeah, I have a similar story, and just kind of like in a bad space in Toronto and trying to get out of Toronto for a while, and came for a visit to get out of the city, to get away. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take the plunge. I'm just going to get an apartment. And it's the craziest thing when you make this decision and the universe decides to support your decision. It's like you realize in this moment that you want to do something. You put the intention forth, I guess you could say. And then everything in the universe works in your favor to support you on that intention, that decision. And I think that's kind of how it's worked for me, at least. I feel like everything just seemed to fall into place over the last 8 months that I've been here. From getting an apartment, getting a job, things that were not falling into place in Toronto. Was it hard for you in Toronto? Did you feel like it was challenging? Were you just tired of it?
Well, Toronto was the first city I moved to in Canada. And to be honest, I met many great people there, made a lot of good friends. I had some great times there, but there's a point where things were just not working anymore. And I just didn't really feel like I was progressing at some point. And I don't know, I just thought that it was just a good idea just to... It was hard to... I just decided to move, to be honest.
It's okay. Be spontaneous. Spontaneity is, I think, kind of not encouraged that much in our culture. And I think we need to sometimes, I'm gonna use the image of a tarot card. I don't know if you know anything about the tarot, but I'm a huge student, and the first card of a major arcana is the Fool, which is the number 0, and it's a kind of a weird concept, the Fool, I guess, hyphen, but it's like the being on the pinnacle, the cliff, and taking the plunge of exploring everything that life has to offer. So I think that's kind of where we were, maybe by taking the plunge to move to Montreal, but also being able to meet each other
Of course.
here. It's so funny because we were both in Toronto, and actually you're from Jamaica and I lived in Jamaica, and when I lived in Jamaica you were in Jamaica.
That's crazy. So let's get into this now.
Okay.
Your journey. So Guyana to Canada?
Yeah, to Canada. I was only 2 when I came here, so I'm pretty Canadian, but yes, I'm an immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
So I come from a space and an experience of being an immigrant, and I would say it really is a huge part of how I see myself. And I grew up in Southern Ontario,
Mm-hmm.
which during the time that I lived there was very kind of racist. It wasn't very diverse in those years growing up. So I experienced levels of racism that I think we in Canada kind of we don't talk about. At least we didn't before. And I know that a lot of times I hear a lot of Canadians say things like, Oh, I didn't know, or I'm not racist, but it's also in terms of like experiencing challenges, even as a person who's perceived as being Canadian, especially with the way I talk. I think that because my name isn't very cultural, I can get away, especially at our job and stuff. But being on the phone, speaking like this, having a name that's very Anglo, I can get away with kind of like moving through kind of things. But I spent a year in Montego Bay with my kids teaching. Love Jamaica, traveled all over. I would say one of my favorite parts of Jamaica, other than Montego Bay where I lived, is Portmore, which I know that you love Portland as well.
Portmore or Portland?
Oh, sorry, not Portmore. Portmore, I love Portmore too. Yes. I love Portmore too. Portmore is not in Portland, guys, just so you know. No, I love Portland, but I love Portmore actually. Portmore was probably the first place I went to in Jamaica.
Portland.
But no, Portmore too.
Portmore?
Yeah,
Yes.
Portmore too. Portmore was the first place and Portland was the last place I visited, which was the last time I was in Jamaica was 2012, which is quite a while ago. But yeah, I love Jamaica. It's beautiful people, beautiful culture.
I've only been recently cute.
Tell me more.
No, so I was like very awkward and short growing up. And so like, I don't know, it's only been recently that I've had certain interactions that have like,
Made you feel cute?
yeah.
You know, that's funny because I often tell my sons how in high school I was super dorky and like really awkward. And they're like, Mom, I know that there were guys that liked you that probably never told you and you just had no clue. And I'm like, guys, I look like I was 12 in high school. Guys did not like me. But I feel that what you just said, like I recently feel cute because I think it took me till my 30s to feel cute. I know it sounds funny, but yeah, cuteness, it's kind of a thing, eh? Yeah, from Jamaica to Toronto to Montreal.
Oh my god, so here's the thing. I'm just gonna spill the tea.
Yeah, spill the tea.
Because wait, did I just say spill the tea?
You said spill.
I'm over it. So when I went to Toronto, okay. So my first date, I think I almost had like a heart attack. Because like, okay, like we went to this place and then blah blah blah. And then I was like, no, literally like that. Like I'm not doing the silence for dramatic effects. That's how I
I'm
was.
listening. I love the drama.
So then I didn't know. Like I still have like anxiety today, even like seeing someone of the same sex. Like I don't even think I've ever came out yet. Like no, it comes out in conversation when I say like I went on a date or like I did this or I'm seeing someone, I'm talking to someone. It comes out with my friends in conversation, but I don't think I've ever like said it.
So you're like technically still in the closet?
No, because I'm very open with it. Like
okay, I thought you were.
I'm very open with it. I'm not shy about it, but I'm just so afraid. I'm still afraid to this day. I'm terrified. I'm metrified.
Yeah.
Like it's like I don't know how to explain this to anyone or like I don't know.
I think I understand because I think that like one of the things that I've been researching for some time now in terms of like BIPOC and healing is like intergenerational trauma. And I think that when you just inbuilt in your system, in your DNA, like almost to be afraid to express who you are, that's something that doesn't really leave you, and ideas of shame and guilt are kind of built into our culture, I think, as people who've experienced colonization from young age, from culture, from our families. Yeah, so I think that's kind of part of it. But it's okay because we can overcome these things. I think by being our authentic selves, which were what we were talking about before, and by being creative and being political, that's part of the healing process. I really, really believe that. You know, when I see artists expressing themselves in ways maybe they couldn't do in their own country, or being who they are, you know, and I think maybe your story, like your experience, and even you expressing that feeling that you actually haven't really come out of showing your authentic self, is kind of part of that journey that we go through as immigrants coming to this country, kind of still feeling senses of having to hold ourselves back from who we are. But, you know, it's important that we do. And my whole fear too is taking up space. I have like a real, you know, even as an academic or as a teacher, or even in any of my myriad of careers, I always like had this fear of taking up space because I felt like it was never mine to take, you know. So one of my favorite I guess writers, activists, is Gloria Anzaldúa. She's from Mexico, and she really was an advocate of like, if you don't take up the space, then somebody else is going to take it. Somebody who doesn't express the reality of our experience in the same way that you do. And so that's why it's important that we do the work that we do, you know, whether it's in political science, in education, in, you know, just being who we are, being creative, passionate, artistic people. You know, want to share any thoughts about that? Being a passionate, creative person that you are.
Because I just think it's difficult sometimes, because so many times when it comes to issues like this, we end up in this like strange feeling of does someone take a platform to speak up about certain things because it will bring them better status? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Or make them more aligned with things that they don't really like care about, but they do speak on. And it's a hard place to sit, being someone from certain communities, as to where to trust certain, like, there's an example I'd bring up, but there's a politician who at a certain year in their career, they didn't support a certain thing that would have benefited the community. And then after they won that election, they spoke about something very openly to win the next election. Mm-hmm. So as much as like we appreciate allies, I'm like, I get that you're an ally and I respect that. And honestly, the community we know without allies. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, how much does it take to... Why does it always have... Like, speaking of politics, why is it that when someone speaks on an issue, it's... And of course, I understand how politics works, but why is it that when someone speaks on an issue, it's political gain? And if someone truly passionately believes about that, they've spoken about that before. And I know there's political reasons, and I understand that this particular politician was of a particular background who needed the support of a particular sect of the community. I won't say anything in like particular, mm-hmm. but it was necessary for them for political gain to not openly support this. The point is that people from that community still feel ashamed that like at some point you did support, but then before that it just wasn't popular. So then I was reading an article. Anyway, from then it just like reads as miscommunication. Like, it doesn't seem genuine. And even if this person genuinely did support this community at some point, it's not genuine support for political reasons. And that's kind of how it resonates with the community, in my personal opinion.
Let's talk about astrology.
Okay, so you're a Capricorn.
Yeah, I'm a Capricorn sun, but I'm a Pisces ascendant and a Venus in Pisces. So
you have some water in there.
I have a lot of water. Well, I have like, I'm kind of a good balance, because I think that I got the earth and the water and earth together creates many things. So it's a good combo. And you are
Sun in Cancer.
You got the water and the earth too.
I got Moon and Rising Virgo. Venus, Mercury, Gemini.
Venus and Mercury and Gemini. So your love and your expression, your communication is very earthy and Virgoan, which is very precise, very specific. Venus in Virgo can be kind of freaky too. No? No? Not really? Maybe I think Virgos can be, I mean, my exes are all Virgos. I have a lot of Virgo exes. Yeah, it's really weird to me. I know, it seems like a weird, but I think it's because of my Pisces ascendant, because Virgo and Pisces are like supposed to be this good match, I think. So they're really attracted. It's very much the empath kind of energy that Virgos can be attracted to, and I do think I have a lot of empathic qualities. I believe in healing and stuff like that, healing for people, healing for humanity. But I think that, like, the houses have a lot to do with it too. So I'd have to look at your chart and see where the houses lie, and see where the Cancer kind of comes in, because Cancers are like soft on the inside and a little hard on a hard shell on the outside. Do you see yourself like that?
Oh my god.
A little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
You're trying to like hide that soft, mushy interior with the hard.
Like, it's weird because, like, okay, like, I've got the Cancer inside, and that's like my sun sign, right? And then I have these other signs in my mix. So then, when it comes to certain things, I'm very on my other, like, parts of my chart. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like,
I think you identify more with your ascendant, which is Virgo, and also like if your expression, because both Virgo and Gemini are ruled by the sun, the planet of Mercury, which.
But I want to fall in love. That's my Cancer.
That's your Cancer.
I want to fall in love. I want, like.
Are you romantic?
No. Look, my God.
You're
so I was a hopeless romantic. I'm a hopeless
that.
romantic. I like to plan picnics and skate dates and, like, whatever it takes. But I just got exhausted. Like.
Well, that's a lot of hard work.
Lots of people are not serious like that to be worth that much energy.
I think sometimes too we have to be able to go in the flow, and it's kind of hard when you're an earth sign and you're so grounded. Like, you have this earth energy in your chart, but you also have air and you also have water. I wonder if there's any fire in there. Is there any fire in your chart? Check? Yeah, let's take a look.
We're gonna do it right now.
Yeah, because I can tell you. So my moon is in Sagittarius. Speaking of fire, so this is this is what makes me my emotionals, because moon is the emotions, right?
Whoa.
Yeah.
So if my moon is in Virgo, then, like, what?
You're emotionally. I don't even want to say it. Because I just emotionally, I find that Virgos can be kind of a little bit Like I'm just going on the ones that I know, but I do have some really loving Virgos in my life as well. But emotionally, it's very cut and dry. Let's put it that way. It's very clear cut. It's very, precise. That's one of the gifts of Virgo, as I see it. Like for me, I think how my moon expresses itself is I'm very nomadic, and moon in Sagittarius is kind of like the sign of the nomad. Yeah. So it's a person who kind of doesn't feel that their home is in one place. So that's something that I think can be perceived as not so great by some, like my mom. But for me, it's been a gift because I've been able to have the experience of living in different places and being able to be able to make that shift. I know that for some people it's very difficult to kind of move around and experience different cultures, but I've been able to I spent a few summers in Barcelona. I lived in Jamaica. I moved to Montreal for a summer back in my undergrad years. I moved to Toronto as well, so that was when I was 19. So yeah, I've had a few different experiences moved back to Montreal now that I'm in my later years. I'm not going to say how old I am because I'm old. But did you find your fire sign? Do you have any fire? Do you see?
I'm in complicated.
It's complicated? Let me see it. Do you have the chart up? I can just take a quick peek at it.
Ooh.
Or are you on CoStar?
I'm doing something weird. It's not letting me just see my sign.
Do you have CoStar?
I used to have it.
Okay, I used to have it too, but I don't know what happened with this new phone. It just didn't kick in, and so I just kind of deleted it. Because it was just kind of fun every day to kind of pop in and check your little status thing, but I just don't. Now I'm a real serious astrology person, so I gotta check the actual chart, keep it real out here. But yeah, I love astrology. I love learning about people that way. I know some people think it's like a pseudoscience, but it's pretty scientific if you allow it to be scientific. I kind of wanted to talk about one more thing before we probably wrap up.
Yes.
We had the beautiful privilege of going to see the Basquiat exhibit.
Jean-Michel Basquiat.
Jean-Michel. And I wanted to hear your feelings, how you felt experiencing this exhibit, because I know I myself, as a huge Basquiat fan, was quite overwhelmed by the exhibit, but also like the theme of the exhibit was his musical inspiration alongside of his artistic expression. And I think that that's something that resonates with me a lot because I love music. I listen to music all the time. I'm not a musician. I wish I could be, but it was something that I wanted to impart on my kids. And I think that they definitely have, they can play instruments. I can't, but it was something that I wanted them to learn, and also they're artists. So you can see that I have such a love and an admiration of people who can express themselves through different artistic means. So how did you feel walking through that exhibit? I know that, I invited you. I felt this energy that it would be beneficial for you. So tell me what your vibe, your feelings.
I really loved it. That's the first thing that comes to mind. I admired, I think that when he was making art, there was a community around him, right? And I think that that's something that's kind of very interesting to me, is to see that, he was at at DJ events and doing visual art and listening to music at the same time. I found that very interesting. But to see how his auditory experience translated into a visual experience was very cool and something very new, because normally I know people listen to music and make certain works of art, right? But this was the first time I saw in person like someone's art that was like directly influenced by music.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like the exhibit didn't. I know they like, they play the music and then have the art, but I'd love to know what he was listening to when he was making some of the artwork.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be very, very interesting.
I think that that's really like a good kind of just thinking about his thought processes while he's in the creative mode of creating visual art, because like as we both know, being creative, creating art is both visual, auditory. It can be even through food. We both love cooking. That was something else we could talk about maybe in another time. But I think all of these ways of expressing ourselves is this creative kind of plethora of the way that we can experience other forms of music. Like you could see in the exhibit how jazz, hip hop, and other forms of music really profoundly affected him as an artist. And that was one of the parts of it that I really like loved in the exhibit, that I thought kind of surprised me in the ways that they could express that in the exhibit. I wasn't expecting it, because sometimes I go into these exhibits of artists that I really love and I kind of come out like feeling kind of like, not like I've been given the full expression of like how much I love this artist, kind of feeling lacking. But this one, I was really emotionally I felt so emotional at times, especially by the time we got to the jazz room, because I love jazz so much. I love Miles Davis, I love Charlie Parker, and I love like the idea of making music that is so just in the moment. And I think that's how art making is. It's just being in this moment of how do I feel in this moment, what's coming out of me, and that's the whole process of creativity for me. So I really appreciated that they tried to capture that. I don't know if it came across for everyone, but I was happy to share that with you.
No, it's definitely a great time. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I was happy to have you there. Oh yeah.
Wait, no. There's.
All right. Okay, hardball questions. Do we start with the easier hardball questions?
Let's go right to it.
Oh, okay. Keep it spicy. No, let's start with let's warm up. Let's start with who's your current influences, inspirations?
Musically?
Any musically.
I really do. I've quite enjoyed Beyonce's new album.
Okay.
And I just love Alien Superstar.
Okay.
Ooh, baby, I'm. I love that whole thing in Alien Superstar. I love Heated. And my friend and I actually went to a show where they only played Beyonce. And we had so much fun. So
was that here in Montreal or?
It was here, yeah. It was it's like a few months ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. What was the other hardball question I wanted to ask you? Ooh, current crush.
So, I listened to... Okay, this is so random, but you know The Hills, right?
Yeah.
Heidi Montag, she said it wasn't her song in an interview, but then she said... I don't know, she said it was not her song, but there's a demo about Bionic with Heidi Montag, and then she says in her song... Well, she says it's not her song, but whatever. In the song, the lyrics are, "Give me a metrosexual alpha male."
Ooh, okay.
I feel like that's what I'm into.
That's what you're into?
A guy that takes care of himself and then also is strong and,
I concur. I mean, honestly, as a strong woman, I find myself kind of in the same boat too with relationships and stuff. If you're not an alpha, if you don't take care of yourself, I'm not interested. I have a high level of expectation in that so yeah. I think that's pretty legit. 2 thumbs up. What was the other question that we wanted to talk about?
Because
go on.
Because I was going to tell you about my crush on...
Oh, yes, that's...
Well, I have a crush on Kim Kardashian.
Really?
And a crush on A$AP Rocky.
Oh my god, A$AP
It's never going to happen, but, like, whatever.
No, A$AP is so hot.
Right?
He's so beautiful. He's such a beautiful man. I can't look at him. I'm just like... He's so beautiful. He's just so perfect and talented and fashionable and gorgeous and... And now he's with Rihanna, and I just love that.
Wait, how'd you get into makeup then?
Oh, makeup. Okay, so I graduated in my undergrad, and it was like, I think I did my graduation in July, and I was like, okay, I need a job. And one of my girlfriends was working in makeup at the time, and she was like, we would go out together. We were like super fabulous girls in the city in Toronto.
Dance hall girls?
You know, not really. Like, you're just really into fashion and just being cute, I guess, in Toronto at the time. And she was like, Michelle, I know you can do this, and you know, I'm gonna help you get this job. So my first job in makeup was actually for this really cute New York-based company called Tony and Tina, and they were really famous for their glitter eyeliners, which people from Asia would line up for. Like, these things went out the door, and they were like $20 a pop for these eyeliners. And these girls from Hong Kong would come, and they would buy like 10, 15 eyeliner pencils at the time. It was really amazing. We had glitter that was actually like not harmful for your eyes and stuff to wear at the time. And
because
so,
like when I did glitter the last time, I didn't do the research.
Yeah,
so
you have to be careful with glitter.
Yeah,
everywhere.
And it was all over me and all over my face and all over
everything. Yeah,
and
it doesn't go away for a long time.
Yeah, so I used like olive oil and stuff to get it off, because I read that you could scratch your
eyes. Yeah. That's why when I worked at Tony and Tina, the company was actually they were really into like all natural products and non-harmful ingredients. So they had like a under eye concealer that had green tea, and this was like a long time before like holistic and like all natural makeup was kind of a thing. So it was kind of groundbreaking, and they were really into the chakras and stuff, which really appealed to me. So that was my first job in makeup, and then after that I got a job at Chanel. Still up to now love Chanel, and like would always buy their stuff. Like, all my fragrances are Chanel. I love Chanel. I love the whole story of Gabrielle Chanel. I just love the whole rags to riches, pull yourself up by the bootstraps kind of thing, especially because she has such a tragic story, kind of like being, abandoned by her father, living in an orphanage, and then kind of like building herself up from nothing, kind of, and that really, I guess, that story, that, empowered women energy kind of appeals to me. So yeah, it's my little synopsis of makeup. But I love being creative. I started out doing makeup in high school. I did makeup for theater, and that was kind of how I started. And I guess I just kind of ended up in it, and I was really passionate about it. And yeah, I love makeup.
I love makeup too. My story is a bit different. So I had very bad acne in high school, and it was all over my face. And so what I would do is I would first I wanted like makeup in high school, and then I was told no. And then I started with tinted moisturizers. Yeah,
those are always good to start with.
Yeah, and then I started just doing my own makeup. And then...
So was it your mom, sorry to just backtrack a second.
Yeah.
Was it your mom that said no when you asked for foundation, or?
Well, kind of, because she thought it would make it worse.
Okay, yeah.
But she was actually kind of open to the idea.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I just started when I got into university, and then I would just not leave the room without makeup. And then eventually I started like into skincare, so then that was a bit more productive overall, because you want to take care of your skin and stuff. So I got into like retinol and like all kinds of different things. But now I wear makeup like if I have to or if I want to, and thankfully my skin is not the same that it was when I was in high school.
Your skin changes over time. I will be a testament to that. I mean, I have to admit, I really lucked out in high school. I really never had problems. My sister had a lot of acne in high school. She battled that, and I know how difficult that can be. Like, especially when you're going through a time when you're so self-conscious of yourself and like growing into who you are, and you're more conscious of how you present in the world. It's a difficult time to have to go through having bad skin or like battling. My sister took all these different like pills and creams and all kinds of things, so she would go with the dermatologist, and it just was like, it was hard to watch her go through that. It was really like, I just felt so bad for her. And and we got into makeup at that time as well, because MAC was actually like a newer company at that time, and it was out of Toronto, and we would take these trips to Toronto because we're like I said, we're from Southern Ontario, so we would take these trips to Toronto just to buy this like MAC makeup because it was makeup artist.
What was Southern Ontario like though?
Ooh, that's a whole other. Southern Ontario, I mean, looking back now at the point where I am now, I find Montreal actually reminds me a lot of Southern Ontario when I grew up, because there's this kind of nostalgic vibe to Montreal. Like, they're still kind of like in a different time zone, and I love that about it, because I think that I went through a lot of painful moments in high school when I was younger. So there's a lot of like bad stuff that happened to my family, and just trauma that happened in Southern Ontario when I was there. And I think that being here is kind of allowing me to heal some parts of that experience, and also kind of feeling like I'm in a smaller town with the diversity of a bigger city. I think that's kind of how I'm going to put it in a nutshell, because we're in Montreal. We have art, we have culture, we have diversity. Those three things I think are really important as people of color who also like, are very creative or artistic. Like, for example, speaking on like going back to earlier conversation, 90s rock music, 9 Inch Nails. I'm not sure if you love Radiohead or know them, but I just saw on Instagram earlier today, and they're doing a symphony, like orchestra type of concert of Radiohead songs here, like a candlelit kind of concert. And I just was like, really, I'm so interested to go to that. I'm like, yeah, but you can only get that in a bigger city, right? Like, you can't get that in like Southern Ontario, small town kind of. Now I go back on visit all the time because my best friend lives there still, and it's grown a lot. It's a lot bigger. It's a lot more diverse than it was when I grew up. I'm grateful for my experience. It taught me a lot, gave me a lot of resilience. But yeah, I'm grateful for bigger cities in Canada too, just so that I can feel more to be myself, feel more okay in my skin, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that that's kind of going back to what you were saying too about like makeup and wanting to feel more comfortable in your skin, right? Because that's kind of ultimately what we're all trying to do out here. So, any last amazing things you want to share with us before we close this amazing conversation?
No, nothing too crazy.
Nothing too crazy?
No, I'm thankful that you did this with me. And I'm very excited for this year because I think this year I just want to honestly find like just a positive energy and like very angelic vibes. It sounds kind of cliche, but like I just want things to just feel good this year, and that might seem a bit unrealistic or like a bit too whimsical, but I'm more than happy to engage this year with like an energy of just positivity, and I'm very happy that you came with me tonight to record this, and honestly, thank you so much. So
You're welcome, and honestly, it's my pleasure to be here with you and to have this conversation and share thoughts and an artistic creative energy. I'm always down for that, so thanks for having me.
More than a pleasure. Okay.
Thank you. Take care.